Welcome back to part 3 of our explainer series on importing your vehicle to the Canary Islands. So last time, we talked about how bringing your car over completely tax-free as household goods is, well, theoretically possible. But I really want to emphasize that word, theoretically. Because out there in the real world, it's literally a minefield of incredibly expensive traps. And today, we are cutting right to the chase. Look, here's the reality. Most people who end up getting slammed with a massive tax bill, they don't pay it because the rules are totally impossible to follow. No, they pay because of simple, unforced errors. Just silly mistakes. And when it comes to cars, those little slip-ups can easily cost you thousands of euros. Money you could have absolutely kept in your pocket. So let's just dive right in and look at the 4 most common, and definitely the most expensive, mistakes so you're totally prepared.
All right, mistake number 1, the recent purchase. This one is an absolute classic, and it all boils down to one simple question. Exactly when did you actually buy the car?
You know, people so often think, hey, I just bought this car recently, but it's not brand new, it's used, so I'm totally fine, right? It sounds logical enough, but it is a massive, massive trap. The authorities, they don't just care that your name is on a piece of paper. They want hard proof of possession and actual daily use for a good while before your move. We're talking ideally at least 6 months. Why? Well, think about it. They want to stop people from just buying a car at the very last minute to dodge import taxes. If you can't clearly prove you've owned and driven it for that 6-month window, your tax exemption gets thrown right out the window. Suddenly, it's not a household good anymore, and you're in real trouble.
Okay, moving on to mistake number 2, the delayed import. Now, this one usually trips people up when they decide to just leave the car behind at first.
We've all been there, right? The stress of moving is just completely overwhelming. And you think to yourself, you know what? I'll just leave the car back home for now, settle in, get some rest, and I'll bring it over later. I mean, it's completely understandable. But wow, is it dangerous? Because the exact second you officially register your residence, this merciless, invisible clock just starts ticking, and you cannot stop it. If you miss that strict deadline, customs stops looking at your car as a nice, tax-free household good. Instead, it instantly becomes a standard, fully taxed import. Period. No exceptions. Which brings us to mistake number 3, unprovable usage. Now, the issue here isn't whether you own the car. On paper, it's 100% yours. But your actual real-world use of it is either totally unclear or just unprovable. See, you have to prove that this car was a genuine, everyday part of your life. And the authorities are looking closely for some very specific red flags. Like, maybe it was a second car that just sat in the driveway and was barely ever driven. Or perhaps it was actually deregistered and just collected dust in a garage for months. Or, worst case, you just don't have the paperwork to prove you drove it. We're talking missing old insurance policies, no maintenance invoices, that kind of stuff. The officials want to be absolutely, completely certain that this vehicle was your old reliable long before you decided to move. If you can't hand over clear, comprehensible proof of that everyday usage, they are going to immediately question the whole thing. And just like that, your tax exemption is hanging by a thread. And now we hit mistake number 4, false assumptions. Honestly, this is probably the biggest one of all because it's the root cause of almost every single unforced error we see. It's all about going in with the completely wrong mindset. There are these 2 incredibly dangerous myths floating around out there. The first one is people thinking, well, the Canaries are part of Spain, and Spain's in the EU, so obviously there are no customs. And the second myth, oh, this is just a private move, I'm not a business, nobody is going to care or check my stuff that closely. Let me be super clear. Both of these are totally false. They're just pure guesses. Here is the actual reality. The Canary Islands operate as a special tax zone. Yes, even within the EU. Whether your move is a private family relocation or a giant corporate transfer, every single import is strictly scrutinized. And honestly, this is exactly why these rules catch so many people completely off guard. So, hearing all of this, looking at these 4 massive mistakes, you are probably thinking, wow, this entire system is just unbelievably complicated. But you know what? The system itself isn't actually that crazy. Like this quote says, the core problem isn't the rules. The real danger is the false expectation you bring into it. It's that sneaky little belief that this whole process is just on autopilot and that you don't really have to do anything but show up. To put it in plain English, preparation is literally everything here. So the burning question we're left with is this: how exactly do you prepare the right way? How do you actually guarantee you don't fall into any of these traps and make sure your car arrives safely?
Well, that is exactly what we are going to cover in our next explainer. I am going to walk you through a concrete, step-by-step checklist to make sure your vehicle arrives smoothly and, ideally, completely tax and duty-free. Because letting thousands of euros slip right through your fingers over some silly paperwork error, that is a mistake we are simply not going to let you make. But before we get to that checklist, I want you to ask yourself a serious question. Are you truly prepared to take control of this process right now, or are you still secretly hoping the bureaucracy will just magically sort itself out? Think hard about that one, and I'll see you in the next explainer.